And then I'm sure y'all are aware, maybe it's been communicated or not, why I'm here on camera, not Dr. Van and Patricia. They are at FARB, which is a Federation of Regulatory Boards. It's a convention out in Denver. So they're learning more about how to make the board more efficient and whatnot. So now you have me.
Very good. Thank you, Lauren.
Hi, all. I'm having real difficulties with Zoom on my computer, so I'm on my phone. So I'm I'm hoping to get this resolved. I'm restarting my computer with, this is driving me crazy. This has never happened before, but here we go.
All right. Thanks, Susie. Are we ready? I saw a thing come up saying that we were live streaming now.
No, it has not been posted on the
just
website yet.
finished
Just give me a minute. Okay, I posted it. Let me go verify that it is working. OT. Okay, you're good to go.
All right, great. Thank you. A meeting of the Louisiana State Board of Medical Examiners Occupational Therapy Advisory Committee pursuant to lawful notice is duly convened and called to order at 10:10 a.m. Friday, July 25th, 2025 via Zoom virtual video. Please note any comments by the public are welcome and can be emailed to publiccomment@lsbme.la.gov. Lauren, please confirm that you have verified the identity of all tele and video conference participants.
I have.
Is the sound clear and audible to the public and those on tele and video conference?
Yes.
All additions to the executive or public agenda must be made presently, as we will no longer make additions to the agenda after the close of the public session. And I did notice that the rules course and quiz actually didn't make it onto the agenda. I must have forgotten to put it. And we do want to add that to the agenda. So I'm going to be adding.
I think it's under executive session, the OT rules course as a topic to discuss.
Yeah, it just wasn't on the agenda part, so I didn't know if it had to be.
It was separate under the executive session part. We just listed it out separately.
Gotcha.
And we'll go into that for attorney advice and whatnot as a discussion.
Okay, great. So we don't need to add that.
All
right, I'm now going to review the mission. The mission of the Occupational Therapy Advisory Committee is ultimately to protect the public, i.e. the consumers of occupational therapy, by regulating competent practice and upholding the standard set forth by the governing rules and regulations. Members present are as follows: Amy Lariviere, Carolyn Murphy, Kelly Brandon, Mary Green Keys, Glenn Wallace. I think that is it. And myself, Ingrid Frank. Members absent: Raylena Crooks, Kim Solari, and Kathleen Norcross. And Kelly is here. Kelly, I wasn't expecting you. Very good. Glenn, can you confirm that we have a quorum?
We do.
Okay, great. Also present are Lauren Suddeth, LSBME attorney, Tracy Morrow, IT specialist, Phyllis Johnson, licensing analyst supervisor, Jacinta Duhu, LSBME executive staff officer, Susie Allen, director of research and education. Angela Boudreau.
Working the OT desk now.
Oh, Angela is doing OT licensing now?
Yes.
Very good to meet you, Angela. Angela Boudreau. I just gotta write that down. All right. So we do not have Phyllis today. No, we do have Phyllis. Sandra, is Sandra on? No. Okay. And then
Sandra.
we also,
Sandra who? Sandra Hawkins?
yeah, Sandra Hawkins.
Yeah, she no longer works. She's no longer with the agency. That's why. Yeah. So
Okay, well,
okay.
let me take her
I
off
guess
my
we.
little list
Yes,
of names I usually call out. All right.
I guess we never had that discussion. Okay. All right.
Um, okay, and then we also have two guests who also are applicants for OTAC. April Payton, Andrew Silbernagle. So welcome, everybody. We'll start with old business and approval of the minutes from the meeting on May 9th. I'm going to share the screen with the agenda. Give me just a second while I find the right thing. Oh, y'all know how that can be. Try again. There it is. Okay. Hopefully I am, Kelly, I can see your face. Am I sharing the agenda? Okay, yes. All right, very good. All right, so at our meeting back in May, we covered let's see, amendments. Oh, we basically talked about that the rules were going to be probably going into effect. That everything was on course for the new rules to go into effect. We talked about the LOTA president was considering creating a ethics course. By the way, I don't have any update on that. We got an update from Dr. Collada about temporary permitting, saying that that was still in play. So until the law changes, OT will continue to do temporary permitting. He gave us a update on the Compact Commission. We discussed members whose terms would be expiring and their geographic and practice areas. We talked about that at that time we had only one OTAC member application, and we agreed that we were going to do another call for applications to get more applications. And we agreed on that. We talked about a tracking document, and we all voted to adopt a tracking document that could be used as OT practitioners ask questions of the LSBME. They can be tracked on that as we provide responses. It'll be added to that. And then we'll be able to answer questions consistently over time and maybe have a document in 3 years that tells us what OT practitioners are unclear about in the rules. We did have an executive session, and that was it. Then we adjourned. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting on May 9th?
I will, Amy.
Okay, Amy,
Motion to approve.
and a second.
I'll second. This is Kelly.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from May 9th, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. All right, the next thing on our agenda is to get an update from folks at LSBME about the tracking document and whether that, was created and
So
whether. Mhm.
yeah, so we used what you sent at the last meeting. Dr. Van had initially suggested maybe putting it in a OneNote with a whole bunch of access, and that seemed a little too complicated. So we uploaded it to the SharePoint where you get your agendas. And so this is just an idea, if y'all think of a better way to do this. That way it will be up, like the most current version will be updated on there. Y'all can download it in between meetings and update it yourself if you need to. Like if y'all individually get questions. And then at the next meeting, send in if you've gotten any questions. And then we'll update the master document and we'll update the master document of anything that we talk about at the meeting. And then we'll just keep that in SharePoint, kind of like how we do the agendas.
I love that.
That just seems the most easy way for y'all to be able to access the current version, and we don't have to worry about, having a different login and a different set of stuff. So that's currently on your SharePoint where you get your agenda. It went up yesterday, so you probably didn't see it.
Lauren, I did, and I forgot about it, and I didn't download it. Were there any actual questions on it?
No, I mean, it's what you emailed us.
Okay.
So we
Okay,
haven't
that's fine.
updated it yet. But like anything y'all get, we'll put on there. Anything we talk about at this meeting, y'all get up there. Um, and we'll just keep that current. And that way for like if as y'all cycle off, it'll still be in the SharePoint for forever and won't get lost in some other folder in someone's computer somewhere.
Mhm.
Can you clarify again how that would work with if we have a question that we needed to add to it? It's not like a,
It's not like an editable thing. I would just
okay.
download it and keep like a local copy on your end, like in between the meetings. And then,
Uh-huh.
you know how like we ask for topics on the agenda or things like
Okay.
that. Just email it in to Jacinta or whoever at the board, and then we'll update the master one that's on
Okay.
the SharePoint.
Okay, I see.
I mean, like, so it might be a little cumbersome to get like, 7 of those in, but it'll be
Mhm.
just a copy and paste to put in. And then we can go through and edit that document at a meeting to just put like, the official answer if we want to,
Okay,
and make any changes in real time at the meeting.
thanks.
Great. Okay, very good. Any other questions about that topic? Okay, next is the AOTA guidelines for reentry into the profession. And Dr. Van had asked us to add this to the agenda. The AOTA had apparently put out a call asking for regulatory bodies like us to give feedback on these guidelines. We have missed that deadline, but I did still feel like it was a good document for us to review, kind of compare to the rules that we created, see if there's anything within this document that's food for thought for us. So I'm going to kind of oops, it's not, let's see, I need to pull that thing up. Give me just a second again, y'all. Okay. I can see Kelly again. Kelly, could you give me a thumbs up if you're looking at guidelines for reentry? You are. Okay. All right. So, these are the guidelines that the AOTA came up with, specifically for OTPs who have left the field for 2 or more years, and then they want to get back into the profession and deliver OT services. And what would be their obligation to make sure they were up to speed for practicing. They talk about who falls into this category. Reentering practitioners typically fall into one of 2 categories: those who have maintained their licensure but have not practiced, and those who have not maintained their licensure. At a minimum, OT practitioners seeking reentry need to identify and meet continuing competency requirements as outlined by their regulatory boards, which would be us, or the LSBME. OT practitioners are encouraged to maintain records of formal learning and supported practice, which could be submitted to employers or to regulatory boards or state agencies if requested. They reiterate what's required of all OT practitioners within our standards for continuing competence, that we all need to engage in an ongoing process to keep up with new developments related to the profession. So this guidance document for reentry reflects an understanding that each returning practitioner's learning needs will differ based on their time away, their experience, changes in healthcare, changes in the profession, changes in their specialty area. Reentry is defined as an OTP who has previously practiced but not engaged in it for 2 years and desires a return. Formal learning is defined as attending workshops, seminars, lectures, doing formal academic coursework like at a university, participating in a self-study series, participating in distance learning, synchronous or asynchronous, and participating in an AOTA-approved fellowship program. Then they differentiate that from a term that I sort of learned from here, which they are calling supported practice. Supported practice may include either mentoring or more formal supervision. Supported practice refers to the provision of OT under the supervision or mentorship of a qualified OTP. In OT practice, supervision is a cooperative process aimed at ensuring the safe delivery of OT and fostering professional competence. In a mentor relationship, 2 or more practitioners form a partnership in which a mentor supports the mentee's professional growth. So supervision is aimed at ensuring safe and effective delivery of OT. Mentorship is about the mentee's professional growth. So it's slightly different. Both of these would be considered supported practice. So their guidelines are that the person engage in a formal process of self-assessment and complete a professional development plan that addresses the standards for continuing competence. Also, that the person who wants to reenter attend a minimum of 12 hours of formal learning related to OT service for each year that they were out of practice. And at least 24 hours of the formal learning should occur within the 24 months directly preceding reentry. They recommend that a minimum of 3 hours of this learning be related to ethics, and that 3 hours of this learning be related to the laws and regulations that support OT practice. And then, of course, they need to attain relevant updates to the core knowledge for the responsibilities of an OTP found in official documents like the framework, code of ethics, standards for competence, standards for practice, supervision rules. Then number 3 outlines for someone who's been out of practice for 3 or more years. They recommend to complete 10 hours of supported practice for each year out of practice. So for the people that were out for 2 years or less, they recommend the 12 hours of formal education for each year they were out. If someone's been out for 3 or more years, they recommend some supported practice. 10 hours.
Ingrid, can I stop you 1 second? Mary's texted me. She's got kicked out and trying to get back in. And
I'm back in. I'm back.
Let her know. So she's back. Okay.
Thank you. And yes, please always interrupt with something like that. Thank you, Amy. Glad you're back, Mary. So for someone out 3 years or more, AOTA is recommending completing 10 hours of supported practice for each year out of practice, up to a maximum of 80 hours. If the practitioner's license is inactive, supported practice should only occur after the practitioner has reinstated their license. So I did think this was really interesting point here that for the AOTA's definition of supported practice, this means after your license. So of course, if we license someone who's been out for a long time, once they're licensed, I kind of feel like OTAC would lose track of whether they actually follow through on our recommendations for, we wouldn't have any way to say that they have to follow up on the plan for supported practice, but this is the AOTA recommendation. And it probably goes back to their definition of supported practice, which is actually doing OT, but under supervision. Supported practice should only occur after they've reinstated. It should occur in the practitioner's anticipated work setting and may be part of paid employment. So also it may not be. It should be completed within 60 days of reentry. The reentering practitioner, in conjunction with the supervising or mentoring OTP, should keep a log of their hours and create goals for themselves as part of a development plan. The reentering OT must be supported by an OT, while a reentering OTA may be supported by either an OT or an OTA. Support should include direct face-to-face contact or live virtual support, which may include observation, modeling, co-treatment, discussion, teaching, and instruction. And it can be augmented by indirect methods such as electronic communications, meaning emails. But the idea behind it here is that it would be live, either live virtual or live in person, so that you're actually giving feedback, observing, modeling, co-treating. And then finally, after practitioners have successfully returned, they're encouraged to refer to the standards for continuing competence to support their ongoing learning needs. So
Kelly has her hand raised.
what do y'all think? Any kind of thoughts about this in terms of for ourselves when we have people wanting to re-enter the profession after a good time out?
Ingrid, can you go back to the very beginning?
Yep.
I must have missed something about, okay, so this is just, when they say out of practice, does that just mean without a license? They haven't renewed their license?
No, it means it could be one of two things. First of all, they're out of practice. They have not practiced for 2 or more years. But they could fall into one of two categories. They may have maintained their license the whole time, in which case, honestly, OTAC would have nothing to do with them.
Right, that's what I'm
But
confused.
the other category are the ones who didn't practice and let their license lapse.
So I understand that category, but I never knew that anyone really kept up with people who didn't practice but still maintain their license.
I don't think anybody does. This is on the onus of the individual OTP. This is AOTA's recommendation to people re-entering the profession. They're telling people who've been out of the profession for 2 or more years, but if they maintain their license that whole time, they're telling them they recommend this, that if you've been out for more than 3 years, we recommend that you find yourself a situation where you can be supported for 10 hours a week or more.
And other states might track that. Like other states might have, like, if you're maintaining your license but not employed, this is, national. Which is kind of goes back to your point of like them recommending follow-up after licensure. Since we're complaint driven, we don't have the manpower to go out and like ask people like, what are you doing? And keep up with that. Other states might function different, or presumably do function differently.
Yeah.
So that might be why.
I guess I just don't know how this is even part of our.
I meant in terms of the other category, the category of people who have been out of practice for 2 or more years and they have not maintained their license. We would be looking at people.
Yes. So, but don't we already have that in the rules of what they would need to do?
Yes.
Okay.
I was just bringing up that this is the AOTA's newest guidelines and,
Okay.
and
I missed.
some of what we have, I do think that what we have in our rules kind of mirrors this. I think
do
we do
too.
have, it's pretty, the only difference is I feel like sometimes we have recommended that somebody get almost like operate like as a tech or a volunteer. I feel like we've done that before. And AOTA's recommendation is if they don't have a license, they should get licensed first and then do the supported, what's their term for that?
So that would be difficult for us because we're saying do that
Supported
first
practice.
and then get a license. I see.
Yeah. We don't have to change anything we're doing. I just wanted to show you, I just wanted us to be aware of what the AOTA is recommending, and have a conversation about it, really.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that the AOTA was asking all the boards just
It
like to
was.
chime in on their thing. So they'll just, if you have things to add to them or you think that could improve or, whatnot, we could tell them.
The deadline for actually giving the feedback has passed, but yeah, if we felt strongly about anything, we could still try to pass it on. And also this is not their final rule, so something might change. But I did think that it was interesting about the whole idea of supported practice, but after you get the license, in which case for us, we would lose track of that. I mean, we could obviously we could reinstate somebody's license with a caveat, that we really want you to do 10 hours a week of supported practice, but we wouldn't be able to follow up on that once they have the license. But I do think that what we have in our rules does closely mimic this. So I just wanted to have any other feedback about it from anybody?
This is
Yeah, I
Kim.
think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Go ahead, Glenn.
I think it's really great what they've provided, especially when it comes to the people who have maintained their license but been out of practice for over 2 years. I think this document and these guidelines really helps employers who are trying to hire people who have maybe been out of practice for 2 years, or if you look on a resume and you see a 2-year gap or something like that, then this provides like great questions to ask people to be like, well, during those 2 years, did you, and then you can use this document to try to help like steer the conversation to be like, well, did you maintain any kind of formal education? Have you stayed up to date with what's going on in the field? Not that you wouldn't ask those questions anyways, but this provides the framework by which maybe employers or somebody else, maybe well, a school wouldn't do that, but but in between education or something like that. But still, I think that would be helpful. If I'm trying to hire an OT and I'm looking on their resume and being like, well, what have you done to if the last time you had a job was 2023, well, now, okay, then I can start here with this document and ask some questions.
Yeah. I also like the definitions. I think the definition for formal learning and the definition of supported practice. And it could be something for OTAC to consider the 3 years from now when we re-review the rules and whether we would want to incorporate some of these definitions into the section about re-entering practice. Even the definition of who needs this, of who the kinds of people re-entering, and different guidelines if it's been 2 years or less versus 3 years or more. Anybody else? Okay. We will go on to our next topic then, which is our advisory opinion on best practices for use of telehealth by OT practitioners, which we wrote all the way back in September of 2024, and it got approved by Patricia and possibly by you, Lauren. I can't remember who. But then I know Dr. Van did not want to publish it because I frankly, I kind of lost track of why. So
So,
I wanted to bring it back up to find
yeah.
out where we were at.
So to be honest, I did too. And I went back and looked at all the meetings. So what happened was that it did get approved. However, we were concurrently fixing our telehealth rules to also address allied health practitioners, and using telehealth. When those went before the board in either December or January, I'm forgetting right now, the board tabled that in order to review because they wanted to address the issue of out of state licensees or just an issue of like doctors being out of state or the patient being out of state. They just wanted to tighten it up a little bit. And so they wanted to talk about it and rewrite the rules before getting approved. And then it was session. And so that kind of just went on the back burner. So the telehealth rules are going up before the board in August. They didn't get to meet the July deadline, but they are going up in August. And then I can't imagine they're going to be too controversial once we get everybody on board. As far as like the promulgation thing. So I would think by the end of the year, they'll be in effect and we can release these, release this with it and then maybe even update this to make sure that it conforms with the new rules and how they're newly written. So I would
Right.
think that it'd probably be released at the end of the year. I'm sorry for the delay, but we're trying to, juggle a whole bunch of different things to get it out at the same time. Because I don't want it to get out and it confuse people with the telehealth rules not lining up.
Yeah.
And so just to bolster it a little bit, if we could wait a few months, I know it's not ideal, but that seems to be the general plan.
Okay. Okay. So I definitely we would need to revisit this after we get a look at what the rules that are going to be discussed and voted on by the board in August and make sure that what we have written here still reflects that
Right.
reality.
Yeah, it's not a substantial change. It's just adding in a few things here and there to also give y'all like the ability to do telehealth. But I think it has to be like on the order of a licensed physician or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know about it
Okay.
off the top of my head. But yeah, so that'll be on the August agenda and then we can go from there.
Okay. So for our, let's see, we're meeting here in July, not August. So
For our August or
probably
September meeting.
in our September meeting, we could look at what got approved by the board and compare it to what we wrote here.
Right, and then update it. So the 1 year anniversary of
Yeah.
this advisory opinion, we can update it a little bit and make sure that it's still buttoned up. Because
Okay.
to my knowledge, there weren't any changes on the telehealth rules for the legislature.
Mhm.
It doesn't really apply to y'all, but like the rules federally keep getting threatened to stop and then, extended, and that's been a whole thing to keep track of. But that has to do more with controlled dangerous substance prescribing.
Yeah.
And if I could chime in here, when that process goes through, if there is anything that should be added, just a little paragraph about OT and telehealth to the rules course, we should discuss it and I will make it happen.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Next on our agenda was I think Kelly, you had just wanted to point something out about CEU exemption. So I'm going to turn it over to Kelly on that.
I did for the CEU. I thought I had a question about service competency. Did I have a question about CEUs too? Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, I think you had asked us to sent an email about CEU
Oh,
exemption for state workers and
oh, yes.
We did look into this because I went through the agenda yesterday and I was like, I wonder what everyone's talking about. And so I looked into this too. So there is a statute that says that if you're renewing, you don't have to do your CEUs if you are employed in a state agency or let me see, pull up the link. If The continuing requirements shall not apply to individuals working as occupational therapists in state facilities or employed in a state agency by a state agency. That, for some reason, did not make it into our rules revision. So we can put that in the list for 3 years down the road to add it in there. But the law does supersede the rules. So that's still in effect
Okay.
as
Yeah.
an exemption. So someone can claim that. I don't know, like y'all would know better than me. I don't know how many people that applies to or how many like OTs work in or are employed by a state agency or work in a state facility. But for whatever reason, those CEU requirements don't apply to them.
Okay.
And that's a
Yeah.
legislative
I
decision.
remember now. I'm sorry. That was a little bit ago, but the other question that I had was about service competency, about
Okay.
the one word that was taken out of the new rules. And so trying to figure out if everyone that supervises that OTA has to sign the form or just the initial.
Hold on, I just want to finish up the CEU exemption thing. 'Cause,
Okay.
Lauren, for the rules that we just updated, we purposely removed that language about people, OTs who work for the state being able to be exempted from, like, we don't want them to be exempted.
Okay.
We realize that the law supersedes the rules. So really we would prefer that that piece be removed from the law, because we agreed that just because you work for the state should not make you exempt from the CEU requirement.
I agree. I work for the state and I still have to take my CLEs. So
Yeah.
it doesn't
I
make
don't-
much sense.
Well, as an OT who's currently employed by the state, I would prefer not to have to do CEUs. That would be great. I didn't even know this rule. I overlooked this part. I didn't even know this was a thing.
It is a thing, but Glenn, you're not allowed to. No,
Okay, okay, fine,
Lead by
fine.
example.
Yeah, we all
Okay, you got me.
all the faculty work for the state too, but as their department head, we have it in our department head policies and procedures that you will get your CEUs despite that. However, yeah, so we would not, we purposely removed that from the
Okay, good.
rules, and we would like to eventually see it removed from the law so that, every OTP needs to get their CEUs.
Yeah, we have a kind of years long list of things that we would like the legislature to change in some of our practice acts. So hopefully next year will be our year that we can get that bill through this session. And we'll definitely try to put it in there and maybe just look at everything in y'all's practice act to see if we want to make any changes. But that's something for, next session.
Yeah. Okay, so now,
So we did get one public comment from Drew.
okay.
He says that we still need them for NBCOT as the state employees if we choose to stay registered. So that's good to know.
That is. Okay, so now we'll go back to Kelly again about the form. And Kelly, if you could just describe which form are you talking about?
For the service competency.
Oh, a service competency. Okay.
Yeah, so I interpreted, now I could have interpreted it incorrectly, but the old rules that the service competency form only has to be completed by one supervising OT, but every OT that supervises that OTA has to at least sign it. That was my interpretation by the way it was worded, but I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Did y'all think that too?
No, I mean, no, when I used to work at a skilled nursing facility, all the OTs did not sign off on the service competency for the codas. We just, whichever OT actually did the service competency signed off, and not the rest of us.
Okay, because the wording is a little bit different now than it was before. And so the way it's worded now, I interpreted it as only the supervising OT has to do it. But the way it was before, I don't have that one though. Do y'all have the old copy?
You mean the template that's on the LSBME website, the recommended template?
The old rules.
Oh, the old rules.
I'm gonna see if I can pull up the red line and we can see what was changed.
But your interpretation now, regardless of what it was before, is only one OT has to sign that form?
Yeah, that's how we wrote that.
Okay,
And that, because we actually specified that supervising OTs don't need to redo it
yeah,
if somebody else has already done it, and that it was on the onus of the CODA to be able to provide documentation to any OT who is supervising them
okay.
of their service competency.
Let's see. Well, can't get it to open up.
Any other, I guess, interpretations other than that from anybody else about the service competency for documentation for CODA, for OTAs? Okay. Now, the next question that came in was, I added this to the agenda on the request of Mary. So Mary, I'm gonna turn it over to you to ask. You didn't actually tell me what exactly you want us to discuss, but I'm gonna turn it over to you about dry needling.
Okay, so many of my staff have requested to move forward with their certification or privileging for dry needling. I am so lost on how to even begin this process. So I sent a just a feeler out to our national lead for occupational therapy at the VA, and she just gave me some suggestions on what I need to do first. But I just wanted to get a feeler out from you guys on how do I begin, or if anybody has any suggestions.
Well, I'm not sure. Nobody on this crew is working in that field, are we?
Right. Okay.
I don't, but I know that the LOTA has already sponsored one dry needling certification course. And I think they're planning on sponsoring another. So that might be a good place to start. But each individual therapist who's interested, I presume, would just need to start investigating where these courses are being held and when, and
I
go
think the
through.
courses thing is not our biggest issue. And I'm pretty sure it's just a VA thing. Privileging for dry needling is like just very hard here. So I just yeah. So I guess I
So
just need to I've gotten concurrence from our chief of staff to proceed. So I just need to begin the work.
yeah, because the way we wrote the rules, it just really outlines the educational requirements.
Right. Because there's
And
really no other restrictions that I saw. So
the only other restriction is it has to be an OT and it
yeah,
can't be an OTA.
right.
And then
Mary, can I clarify real quick what your question is? Is your question, how does one achieve the privileges needed to proceed with OTs doing dry needling?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just trying to
oh no, that's
clarify
okay.
what
I think
the
though
issue
that
is.
just the way the rules just clarify the educational requirements. So I'm not sure, unfortunately, that we'll be able to otherwise be very helpful with this.
Mary, I think one of our local contacts is isn't it Randall? Is that the right person who was helping with that? Am I correct?
That's right.
What's Randall's last name? I feel like it starts with a C. He's at
Is it
the
Alfred?
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah, not C. Yeah, Randall Alford. He's at the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, I think. Is that correct? He's at Brock.
I think you're
Okay.
right.
And you
Um,
said Alfred?
Alford, Alford. He's a tremendous resource. So I would reach out to Randall. I unfortunately I don't think I have his contact information, but I know that he's a really good next step into um maybe trying to see, if he wants to implement a new type of therapy in the clinic, in the outpatient clinic over there. He would be I think he would be familiar with the process of who do I need to go talk to make sure that my therapists have the privileges they need to be able to perform these services.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one who basically provided guidance for how we wrote those rules. Okay, if there's nothing more with that, I wanted to find out from anybody at LSBME if there have been any practitioner questions that have come in about the rules. I mean, I've heard anecdotally from OTs that they've written the board. And is there any of these questions that we need to interpret and tackle today?
I have heard from a few practitioners who were in the renewal process, but I had some questions of, where should I go to find an ethics course? And I just reiterated who the approved providers, or, whose seal of approval any course they took had to have. The other issue I just want to tell you about is there was a little bit of a delay. So, I don't know if you hear us talk about APIs, which is application programming interface. The thing on CE Broker, for example, that interacts with our renewal system is an API, meaning it checks that any of our licensees are in compliance. Anyway, we had to have CE Broker change that interface to reflect the new rules. And there was a slight delay. Partly there was a delay here in them getting the permission they needed just through a misunderstanding. So there was just sort of a delay in making that change. It is effective as of yesterday. So I did deal with a few licensees saying, well, I'm on CE Broker, but it's doing this and that. And, what I just had to explain to people is, because I went in and checked, it was still showing 12 at that point. I said, just do your normal thing. If you're planning to, if you are planning to take an ethics course because you still need hours, definitely do it because that is, the rule that is in effect. But we're not going to go after somebody who, 2 weeks ago didn't have something because it wasn't in place. Anyway, it is now in effect. So anyone renewing as of now will be asked for 14 hours, will be asked to verify an ethics course, and will be required to take the rules course. And also, as we'll be talking about some of the specifics of the rules course later, but that, of course, has been updated to reflect the new rules. There are some things we need to discuss and that Lauren will also be discussing when we get an executive session. But anyway, those are the only things I heard about. I don't know if Phyllis or anyone else had anyone asking any questions.
Yes, we've been getting some questions. I was really going to send the people a copy of the rules.
Mhm.
We don't really get into practice questions. We deal with licensure requirements. So I'm looking at a question here now. How long does an OTA have to be supervised under an OT? Does the OT have to be in the same building while the OTA is working? How much supervision is required by the OT for the OTA as a new graduate practitioner? And can the OT be supervised by an advanced OTA, or does it have to be an OT? So, I mean, are the answers to these questions? I mean, if you read the rules, would you not know this or no?
Every one of those questions, Phyllis, are very straightforward and don't require any interpretation. Yes, they're in the rules.
So, yeah, I was just going to send them a copy of the rules because, you know, in our department, we just do not answer practice questions. We confine ourselves to so to send her a copy of the rules would be a adequate response to this question?
Um, yes, at the same time, I guess we, would, again, we just want to track those questions, because if repeatedly people are asking some of those things, then maybe we do need to look through, when we revise the rules again in the future, maybe we do need to look at the way we've got it written. Maybe it's not clear if it's repeated, like in my case, in this particular case, I kind of feel like it is clear, but, we that is the kind of question we would, you could just shoot it over to me. I'll add it to that document, or you can add it to that
Okay.
document. We just want to kind of track the questions that are coming in to look for trends and things like that.
Okay.
Can I
And
say,
then, uh-huh.
I think that maybe one of the issues is it's such a big jump from how the rules have been for so long. And so people are like, wait, is this really the case where you don't have to have this 25% of a new grad and, face to face and all of this? So, I mean, I don't know if there needs to be just a brief statement about that or not, but I've had similar questions. I mean, the only question out of that I heard was just really off the wall. That's not even an issue. Is can it be an OTA supervising? I mean, that's never been the case. But there is such a big jump from what it was to what it is now. I think people are second guessing themselves.
I agree. I think that is probably what it is. So
If it is something that's just that straightforward in the rules, we can do like an advisory opinion or say like an advisory opinion to them and just kind of regurgitate it in more of a narrative form. Which I mean will probably just be, writing it in a paragraph instead of having a bullet pointed out, but sometimes it's easier to understand if it's written, in a more familiar format. And we can work on that. So if y'all want to send that over or maybe discuss, wait till August, see if we get any more comments now that the rules course is up, we can, work on putting something out in the next few months.
I can write a like a draft, I guess, generic sort of response about, that there has been a big change in the OTA supervision guidelines and.
Yeah.
And as always, if you feel it's appropriate, we can also always send an email blast out to specifically OTs and OTAs if you feel that's warranted.
Mhm.
I
So,
think it would help a lot.
Yeah, if it's something that we can like just write it out, we'll, keep it on our website and also email it to people directly. And then so like if you get these questions in the future, you can send them the rules, but then also send them the more narrative that might be a little easier instead of having people search through. I mean, I know it's their responsibility, but still
so,
sometimes.
so there's that concern. Like but when I email the advisory committee, it is my understanding that we don't send applicants' names outside of the LSBME environment. So so it's that is appropriate. I mean, that is correct, right? Just like I don't send the names, I may send the application number if they were in executive session and had a recommendation. Uh, like I wouldn't forward this email with the person's name. I mean, isn't that correct?
You could, because it'd be in with us. I mean, just because they're just asking the questions, but you could also just copy and paste it into a clean email and just say that
So,
you received these questions. It doesn't
okay.
really matter.
So then sending them outside of the LSBME uh, Outlook environment, so that's not an issue. Then since it's just a question, I mean, that's what you're saying?
I mean, assuming that the email is just like she's asking these questions and she's
That's
not
it.
putting any otherwise identifying information.
Right,
But
right.
if you feel more comfortable just copying and pasting the questions into a clean
Okay, well
email
that's
to,
okay. So that okay, so then there's one other question if I could ask that that somebody else sent. So this is I spoke with you. Okay. She's speaking about the applicant. She is supposed to be sitting for an examination in occupational therapy in August per our conversation. We provide treatment for our students as well as do OT evaluations for OT services in school settings. We also provide assessments as part of the pupil appraisal team to determine if a child will qualify for a particular exceptionality in the school setting. I would like to know what a temporary license will allow her to do. I feel sure she can do treatment with supervision since she is a licensed coder. If you have any updated information about supervision for CODA, I would appreciate that because I have been working with only OTs for many years now and need to get updated information on CODA supervision. When would she be able to do evaluation? Would that be a now or not until she passes the examination? If not until the examination results, do you have a general time frame for the time she reports her test results to you? We would just appreciate a general idea of how long this process takes. Okay, but anyway, in terms of the practice questions, is that something that if I send them a copy of the rules, they will
It,
find the answer to those questions?
I'm not, Phyllis, is the OT the one who's got a temporary permit?
I think she's saying this person is a practicing coder. She has a coder license,
Okay,
but
so we have a licensed coda. Who has the who's got the temporary?
who's becoming an occupational therapist. So she has
Ah,
yeah. So this coda, she's saying is supposed to be sitting for her examination to be an occupational therapist next month. So she's a
yeah.
coda at this time.
So, yeah, if she finished her OT degree and has a temporary permit to practice as an OT,
Yes.
then she's allowed to do all OT related functions, but we do have it specified in the rules in regards to how much supervision she's going to need from a licensed occupational therapist, a fully licensed OT.
Okay. Okay.
But
So
in the rules, we didn't stipulate anything about that, oh, under a temporary permit, you can do this, but you cannot do that. They can do any thing that's expected of them as an OT. It's just that they have to have, I believe it was 50% of their time has to be with supervision by a fully licensed OT.
okay. Okay. Uh, so then I'm gonna just forward this to you. I'm gonna
That's
forward,
fine.
because I don't want to give an answer to a question and screw up the information and then they blame me for something. So yeah. So attorney, now what are you saying? Can I just forward it a question like that? Can I just forward it the email or what are you saying?
I mean, if there's no other information, I don't think it's that like if,
Other, what other information would you be concerned about?
I mean, they're just I don't know any sort of like education or other identify like addresses or things like that. I don't know.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think it's that big of a deal if you would just forward it to the committee because it's still staying within the
I
board.
got you. I
But I
got you.
mean, if you want to just copy and paste both emails and then, send them to us, we can look at it. And then
Yeah.
maybe just include the email addresses so we know who to contact.
Oh, got you. Got you.
But
Okay.
there's no like privacy concern
Yeah.
of
On
forwarding
another
on like an
dated
email that a
version of the group.
request
Yeah,
for
I got you.
clarification.
I got you. Okay. All right. Well, I will do that.
Does anybody else have any other interpretation of what I just said about that question?
I don't have an interpretation, but one keyword that stood out with the first set of questions was the applicant's use of the word advanced when referring to an occupational therapist. So I don't know why that word was used specifically. I don't know if it doesn't jog my memory that we used that language in the rules revision. So I don't know if there's some kind of miscommunication or some kind of breakdown in understanding the new rules in that regard. So that might be some, I don't, you know what I mean? That might be either their interpretation of our new rules, or it might be something that when we craft, like the new narrative that we put out to help people understand the new rules, that we don't reiterate that kind of language. Or if we need to, then we do. But I just think that has the potential to be a hang up to use labels where labels shouldn't be used.
Yeah, you're talking about the first set of questions about the question
Yeah,
that
I was
about
I was trying
OTA
to.
supervision, not the
Mhm.
temp permitting, but the OTA supervision one.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I think that's like an AOTA. They'll classify entry, intermediate, advanced, and then like the specialty certifications you can get for advanced practitioners and stuff like that. Maybe that's where they got that from.
I
Oh,
bet that.
okay. Okay, but that has nothing to do with like supervising a new
Right. It
grad in order
doesn't.
to get licensed or anything like that. Right. Okay, that's what I thought.
No.
So maybe that might be something to actually comment on, right? Is that it's like as long as you're a licensed occupational therapist, you can be the person who provides the supervision that's needed for whatever new grads or I mean, I know like a new a new grad can't supervise a new grad or whatever, somebody, but whatever guidelines we have set forward, I think that would be good.
Um, any other questions that have come in, Phyllis?
I have to search through the emails, but I will search through and see. Angela, are there any questions on top of your head that we've been confronted with?
Other than the lady who been out of work, uh the one who has had cancer and trying to get back.
Oh yeah, we'll put her on I guess the next
Next
agenda.
meeting agenda.
Yeah. And also
Yeah.
I think this was an OT. We had somebody that uh has been out of practice, but we require and maybe it needs to be updated, I don't know, but we require that they do what do you call it, shadowing, X amount of shadowing, and then they gotta have live CUs. Okay, this person presented some shadowing that took place in another state, or that he shadowed with somebody in another state. Would we accept, I mean, do you find something like that acceptable?
I I would if they had shadowed in OT. What do y'all think?
I mean, I don't know. Like somebody that's an OT in another state. I hadn't looked to verify the license, but and
Yeah, I don't think in our rules that we specify that the shadowing needs to be by a Louisiana license. I think if I recall, it just says a fully licensed or a licensed.
Probably if they have documentation of it.
yeah, I was kind of looking at it, and I'm not so satisfied with it. But I'm gonna dig it up and maybe and present it, I guess, at the next uh OT meeting.
Okay.
I mean, I like, accounting of this day that this occurred and this day that this occurred. And, it
Mhm.
seems to have a format other than the ones that we use. But I will present him at the meeting. And also when it comes to or OTs that have been out of practice for a long period of time, uh, what we have been requiring is pre-approved live CEUs. Like they need to be pre-approved by the advisory committee. That doesn't seem to be an issue with the advisory committee. People, they'll do the CEUs and you look at them and approve them. I guess maybe because they can't seem to find live CEUs in Louisiana to start with. So that doesn't seem to be an issue. Is that accurate?
It is harder to find live continuing education these days. You're correct. It is the number of live conferences is not what it used to be. Though LSU Shreveport, LSU New Orleans do at least one thing. LOTA has a conference every year. So the options, there are things happening. It's not necessarily the frequency that it used to be in the past.
Okay. The last
But
couple
you,
the last couple of people that did it, they had to go like to Mississippi. They just
mm,
could not find anything in Louisiana.
But now with this, more places might start offering it now that there's probably going to be more demand. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, let's add that person to our September meeting, so that we can kind of look at it ahead of time and it'll also give us a chance to re-review our re-entry to the profession rules as they're written now. But the re-entry into the profession section has definitely been something we've had to talk about in executive session more than once, and the way and the whole idea of live CEUs and shadowing and things like that. We've gone around on that. We've gone around on that.
I mean, is that going? Is there thoughts of that changing some kind of way, or?
I guess we could think about it, but I also know that I'm nearly positive I can pull up the rules, I guess, that the rules don't require that we don't say that all of them have to be live. It's only a fraction, right? Am I wrong about that?
According to my check sheet, they is live. Live CEUs. The amount of them is determined by how long you've been out of practice, but uh, it's live. The CEUs have to be live.
And we have two applications that's open they've been out of practice over 5 years, and both was out due to health conditions, personal health conditions. So now they're trying to get back in.
Okay, well, yeah, definitely please add them to our next agenda. And I am trying to quickly find our current rules. See here. Final published. Okay. Does anybody remember where we put this? Let's see. Okay, application, exam waiver, temporary permit. Renewal and reinstatement. Okay. We're talking about reinstatement. A license which has expired may be reinstated. A license that has expired for 2 years or more may include additional fees and requirements as the board deems appropriate, including but not limited to reexamination, satisfaction of continuing professional education, and or complying with all requirements for obtaining the original license. Okay.
Okay.
Trying to see now if we go into that anymore elsewhere. Constitution Committee. I feel like we do, so we just have to find it. Continuing professional contact hours.
I think our process is something that was established by the board, in some kind of privilege that the boards had within the rules to do so. Because I have never seen it in the other rule, like in the rules, I've never seen it in there. So maybe we need to synchronize our
Well, I
checklist.
think I've gotten to, I think I've gotten to the other section here. All right, so the license of an OT whose license has not been renewed within 60 days may be reinstated upon written application to the board, reinstatement fees. Reinstatement may require a criminal background check at discretion of the board. Applicant must also provide documentation and certification that the applicant has within the preceding 12 months completed 14 hours CEU and that they're currently certified by the NBCOT. That's what we did different with these rules. We
Okay,
kind of kicked it to people who've been out of practice for a long time, that they need to that if they have maintained their NBCOT certification while they were out of practice, then they could get reinstated by providing that certification and of course paying the applicable fees, and that they have done recent CEUs like within the last 12 months.
okay,
So that's we were trying to streamline this to a degree by having them, you know, and by just being able, by demonstrating that yes, I'm still certified with NBCOT.
okay,
So the issue would be if they're not. They've been out of practice, they're not licensed, and they did not maintain their certification with NBCOT. So let's see if we addressed that. Waiver of continuing professional.
One of them did and one of them didn't.
Okay. I'm trying to see if we developed any more particular rules for if somebody did not keep up. Patient supervision, dry needling, false suspension of the license. Suspension, no, that's different. Revocation, no, that's different.
The
Okay.
the
So
only
we
thing I remember was we had that one that we went into executive session about, and we did recommend that some of them had to be live, but I don't remember anything being specified in the rules about
But
that.
those were under the old rules, Carolyn. Those were under the old rules. This would be the first
Oh, I guess so.
situation. Yeah, this would be the first situation where we're presented with this under our new rules. And it feels like we don't appear to have a clear path forward when the person is not. Now I already lost where we were on that title of license. Reinstatement of license. Okay. But no, wait, I found that other part about if that. So we have two different sections. We got 1949. I better write that down so we can find it quickly. 1949, which says that it can be reinstated. That basically this says, I think, that we need to look at anyone who's been out of practice for this long and who does not and is not licensed, then and they want to get reinstated, they need to automatically be put on the agenda for the next OTAC meeting, because the way we have it written is that a lot of it is on the recommendation of the board. So it'd be like us recommending something to the board. So I think anytime that we have anyone come in who needs to get reinstated after more than 2 years, they need to be automatically put on the next OTAC meeting agenda. Am I correct about that, Lauren or Phyllis?
well, I mean, the way we've done it in times past, before you change, the rules will change, is that after 5+ years. So if you're saying we would be in sync with these rules, like if they've been out of practice for 2 years, then we need to present them to the committee. That's what you're saying, right? So we need to let this 5 years go and do, 2 years.
We can definitely look into this more offline and then Ingrid,
Okay.
you, me, and Phyllis, we can get together and kind of talk through this and just make sure that we're on it clear and we see a clear path forward. Because
Yeah.
maybe this is something that we need to revise,
Yeah, because I
sooner
think
than 3 years if this is like
this,
an
I don't
actual
know,
issue.
this was like a board decision. It's more so than something written in the rules because the board did this. So for whatever reason,
So the board had come up with a law that anybody who's 5 years out of practice follow that procedure.
I don't know how it
We'll,
Okay.
was
yeah,
written.
we'll need to find that and see like what the
You know how
parameters are and see how we can necessarily enforce that if it's not in our rules.
or it may say, or the board may require, or the board, I mean, there's openings for things the board to do that may, that the rules will allow, and it looks to me like that was born out of that. So we've been dealing with out of practice, whether you have a certification or not. If you have not been practicing, then you got to do 60 hours of shadowing if you've been out of practice for 5 to 10 years, or 120 hours of shadowing if you've been out of practice for 10 or more years. Whether you are currently certified or not. That's how we've been doing it. Or you can retake and pass, reactivate with NBCOT. Retake and pass the NBCOT a certification exam.
This also might be something we'd want to put, since it says the board, if it says the board can do it, we at least jot down on paper and maybe put out as a statement of position. That way people can look at it when they're coming back so they know, like, if they've been gone 5 years, this is what I need to do before I apply for reinstatement. Do something like a physical document. I don't know that that exists. I have not looked into this at all. So, I mean, it very well could already. But I think this is something that we should probably table and look more into before making a decision on.
Definitely, because now I can't even find the other section that I
Yeah.
can only find that. I keep coming back to 1949, and there was another section that talked about NBCOT certification. I can't even find it. So yeah, let's
Is the word shadowing even in the rules?
no, not the two sections that we just were looking at that appear to have to do with reinstatement of a license. Yeah, but I don't know what document you're talking about. Then we have to mash it with
Well, I mean, I'm functioning
our
from,
new rules. And so,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
functioning from a
I think
checklist that I
the three of
inherited.
us, me, you, and Lauren, I think we just need to, yeah, set up another meeting and make sure we understand where you're coming from, Phyllis, what exactly procedure you're following, and see how that meshes with the rules that we just created.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then we can put it on the August agenda to address probably an executive session,
Sometime.
and we'll get legal advice when Patricia and Dr. Van are here too, because they might know more about this.
Okay.
And then we'll just, handle it then.
Okay. All right, our September meeting is going to be busy. Okay. Finally, then we get to our applicants for appointment to OTAC. And oh wait, let me share the screen with the agenda, excuse me. And we have 5 applicants. And I'm just going to give a I guess a verbal summary of, we have applicant Savannah Alfred from the Lake Charles area in outpatient ortho experience. John Drew Silbernagel from the New Orleans Baton Rouge area, working for Louisiana Department of Health in developmental disabilities. Colin Hernandez from Santamont and Baton Rouge, working also for Louisiana Department of Health in developmental disabilities. Amber Lupo, an OT from Slidell, working in pediatrics and outpatient adult both. And April Payton, and OT from St. Mary Parish, working in pediatrics. We don't have any OTA applicants. So those are our 5 applicants, and we are going to be discussing them discussing the merits of each applicant for our 4 positions at in an executive session in an August meeting that we're going to call.
Since you have 2 of them here, I don't know if you want to give them a short opportunity to do a public comment.
Okay. Yes. Would love to. April? April, there you go.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm sorry, I was trying to disconnect.
Yes. Do you have, yes, we would love to, if you want to make a brief public comment about your interest, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, sure. I have a huge passion for advocating for anything related to occupational therapy, but specific to teaching and learning. And I do own a business. It's called Otaba Therapy for kids that are on the spectrum. So it's OT and ABA therapy in combination. And we also have speech. But I've worked in a ton of different fields. So I love the fact that I have knowledge in multiple different areas. And a lot of the things you guys discussed today, whenever y'all bringing up topics and points, I was like, oh yeah, that's good, because I've had questions about that. Specifically with the CODA guidelines, a lot of the verbiage was very confusing to me as a practitioner. And I did reach out quite a few times about it and didn't really get good answers. So I do think that would be something wonderful to update. Just because I do think it's very broad. So some of the things that I was taking into consideration when accepting on a CODA, we were both kind of confused of, like, how often do I need to supervise you? Is it just a 15-minute unit increment, or is it a full session, or different things like that were very confusing in the rules. I also do think y'all had brought up the CEUs and having live CEUs for the guys, the people that are re-entering in. But I honestly would like to see that happen across the board for all practitioners. I think it's important to be, very present and in the moment when we're learning about different topics, and continuously advancing our careers and learning throughout the whole lifespan of our occupational therapy career. I do think sometimes whenever I am on CEUs online, I kind of get distracted and not really in it and learning how I should be. So I do think possibly that would be something great to implement in the future. But this was a very good proactive meeting. Are we allowed to attend these monthly?
Yeah, anybody can attend. They're open to the public.
Okay, yeah, I never knew that. I wasn't aware that we could attend these. So this was very good. I love all that you guys are doing for our field. But yeah, this was a great meeting, and I'd love the opportunity to be able to, give advice and help to establish new things that might make it easier for people in the field to understand our rules and our laws a little bit better.
Thank you. Drew, how do you want to give any kind of statement?
Yeah, I can give a little something. So I haven't been practicing for nearly as long as some of you all on the board, but I'm in a kind of a position now in my career where I'd like to do a little bit more, and I think OTAC is a nice way that I can learn more, but also help the field as OT in general, for the state as well. Luckily, as a state employee, I have the time carved out that I can participate more than what I might have in the past with private practice. So I think this will be a good opportunity, like April said, for similarly, for me to learn the rules, but then also kind of help, other practitioners in the field be more comfortable and more familiar with these rule changes as well. I think it's going to be a good opportunity overall.
Thank you. All right. So we're going to, I'll be sending out a, I'll first be getting with Lauren about availability on LSBME's end for an August meeting where we can do executive session to a specialized August meeting just to talk about the OTAC membership applications. And then I'll send out, I'll get a couple options from LSBME and then I'll send them out to all of the OTAC members and see if we can, come up with a date for a meeting that's just focused around that. Okay, I think, let me just scroll through that.
Looks like Susie has her hand up.
Yes, I think this is Susie, you're coming up. I think we're on to, that's what we are on to next in the
No, but
agenda.
I have a comment for public
Oh,
session,
yes,
actually.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So just listening to this, and this is something we've sort of done in the past, but one thing which occurs to me, and I'm just putting it out there, and I have not passed this by the legal eagles, but we've sort of done this in the past on the website, is that what we may want to think about is to have, obviously there's the rules courses, and now everyone has to, take that every year before they renew, but we may want to have you had mentioned, Ingrid, to Phyllis, I hope you're tracking the questions you're getting, and so on. And I think April said she's always had a lot of questions. One thing that it is possible to consider is to have an FAQ page on the advisory committee page for, if we're getting a lot of common questions or areas, I try when I write these courses to, help clarify things, but that's something people see once a year, and that's something only people who are already licensed are seeing. But it does occur to me that we may want to create an FAQ page, in particular these issues about what do I do if I haven't practiced for a while, or some of these other things that issues clarifying, supervisory issues, things like that. We may want to do an FAQ page, with the questions and answers duly checked over by our legal team and just post it on the advisory committee page.
I love that.
I
Yeah.
think that also help like people on the board, like Angela, who just took this over, to know already, not have to go and reinvent the wheel, would already have access to, thought out answers to it. I see her nodding, so.
All right.
That's an awesome idea.
I agree.
I do think a lot of the times too that when I was sending in questions, it was going to people that weren't occupational therapists, and I would get reverted to someone else in the field. But I don't think I ever was able to speak with an occupational therapist when I was sending in questions. So they kind of just said that they weren't really sure and they didn't know how it worked, and then they gave me another contact to reach and then another contact to reach. And I don't think throughout that thread, I'll have to go back and look, but I don't think I ever got a chance to speak or email and correspondence back with an OT. So I think that was another issue too, that it was that they really didn't know the answer, and it never gotten to the person that possibly could have answered it.
That's a good point that maybe we should put into a newsletter going forward, that you seem active in your community and the OTs and weren't aware of the committees. Like maybe we should put out that hey, we have these advisory committees, they're open to the public. You can come to the meetings, check this website for upcoming meeting dates. Because while the public doesn't have the ability to add an item to the agenda, there's always the ability to give at least a 3-minute public comment at the beginning of the meeting. And can bring up topics. We could amend the agenda after if we need to discuss it further, or we could schedule it for a later meeting if it's something, that's really pressing. So that's something Susie and I can bat about for not July, but, a subsequent newsletter.
And I guess this will be again a conversation maybe between Phyllis and Lauren and I, Dr. Van, if he's involved too, but that the process of when these questions come in, that we have a procedure that some of them maybe get sent to whoever is the chair of OTAC, and the chair of OTAC could sort of communicate back to Phyllis or whoever. This one is really straightforward. Yeah, just send them back the rules and tell them to read paragraph whatever. Or another one be, well, this one is kind of could require some interpretation. I think we ought to put this on the agenda for the next OTAC meeting, and OTAC will discuss it as a whole and come up with an agreement on how we're interpreting that, and then we'll craft a response to the OT. But I think the using OTAC for these questions. I mean, that's why we're here.
Yeah, I think just functionally, as far as like inner workings of the agency, we get questions in from like a bunch of different avenues. Like some just come to a main line, some come to directly to Angela, some come directly to Phyllis. Like they come into different things, and then they don't always get kind of routed to a central place where everybody knows what everyone else is talking about, especially for those more straightforward ones. Or that might seem straightforward, but actually, like in practice, since we aren't OTs, are more complicated. So maybe now also with our tracking system, we could have, everyone who's kind of touching the OT thing to keep track of the questions that we're receiving, and then we can bring them up. Maybe they could just all shoot them to you, Ingrid, or someone, us before the meeting, and we can kind of whittle down what we need to address, because not every question needs to go before OTAC, but like maybe if we're seeing the same, we would think simple question being asked month after month, like maybe that isn't as, simple. So
Right.
we can try to figure out how to move forward with this as far as like our operations go on our
Yeah, I
end.
think it would be make it a lot more consumer friendly for the average OT practitioner too. Okay, well, the last thing on our agenda is to talk about the rules course and quiz, which is going to be led by Susie Allen, and which we need to have an executive session for. So can I get a motion to enter executive session?
This is Carolyn. I make a motion to enter executive session, sorry.
Okay. And a
Yes,
second?
I'll second it. Amy?
Okay. All in favor of moving into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we will now move into executive session at 11:40 a.m.
In April and Drew, that means that y'all won't be moving into that with us. So just thanks for showing up, and then we'll contact y'all and the other applicants for that August meeting.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you,
you
everyone.
all. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank
Have a good day.
Meet you.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you.
And just a quick thing before we migrate, I am in my office, but on a personal hotspot because I was having some tech problems getting into Zoom. So hopefully it transfers because we're doing this way. If it doesn't, I'm going to run to Phyllis's office. So
Okay.
just letting you know what's happening.
You should be able to hit the join button to get in the executive session.
It seems everyone got lost in the ether.
For some reason, I'm the host now. I'm not sure why. Tracy? Oh, now Zoom
No,
is in it.
so you've lost your privileges. So quick.
I'm devastated.
I know.
Okay, you know what? We kind of, we were having trouble. We thought leaving would leave the meeting. We get a thing saying leave breakout room, so that's what delayed us. So I will just repeat myself in saying that our next meeting will take place on Friday, September 12th at 10:25 a.m. That will be our next regularly scheduled OTAC meeting, but please expect that we will be doing an executive session only meeting in August to talk about OTAC membership. Do we have any public comment? No? Then our meeting is adjourned at 12:07 p.m. and thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You.
y'all.